I got something that'll bring back some memories.
Make sure you include your audio.
It's
the two of you guys.
Mine's already checked.
Alright. Upcountry, yours is in?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Libert, did it pop up again?
Alright.
Alright.
Let me do this real quick.
So, alright. Apparently we have an opening song.
Everybody remembers that. This is old
Absolutely.
TNT days.
Let's, alright. Welcome, everybody, to Winston Cup Race Hub, episode 4. Today I have 3 new guests on today's show. First and foremost, we have Truck Series regular, Jersey Devil.
Hello, hello.
And then we have Xfinity Series full-time, but also racing in the trucks, and actually appeared in a couple of cup races this year, Libert58. And we also have Xfinity regular driver, UpCountryBullet, with us.
Yeah, how's it going?
So let's dive right into it. So we're going to talk a lot about the Xfinity and the Truck Series. No kidding. Because you guys are primarily in those series. And those are heating up really quickly here. We just finished round 2 of the Truck Series on Sunday. And we are taking on our second race of round 2 in the Xfinity Series this week on Wednesday. So, Jersey, we'll start with you. So you came into Winston Cup as a truck driver. I know you've expressed interest in trying out the other series, but because of time conflicts, you just haven't been able to put it together. But you've done really well in the Truck Series. You obviously made the playoffs. You made it past the first 2 rounds. You're now in the round of 6. So clearly you've been very successful in that series. So tell us a little bit about your season so far, how it's gone, you know, some of the things that you really are proud of, and maybe some of the things that you struggled with.
Well, the season's been up and down for the most part for me. We started out at Daytona with a bang. We won a stage there. It was looking really great. Then restrictor plate things happen, as you know, as usual at a drafting track. And then missed a couple races. I was sick, so to say. And then just racked up enough points to make the playoffs and had some good runs. And then I think that I've had one of the best trucks in the playoffs. I've finished second 3 times since the playoffs have started. Got 2 or 3 more stage wins after not getting any stage wins in the regular season except for the opener at Daytona. So, you know, coming on strong at the end here. And I think I'm 7 points below the cut line now. So we'll see what happens with these next 3 races.
I mean, you definitely can't really underplay your regular season, even though, yeah, you didn't win any stages or any races after that stage win at Daytona. You still came home 3rd in the regular season standings, and you got yourself some playoff points because of it. So, you know, even though you didn't find that winning success, you've been able to accumulate a lot of points, playoff and non-playoff, and came into the playoffs sitting pretty good, and then have definitely turned it on. I know you've expressed this a lot lately, that you're getting kind of frustrated because 3 second-place finishes in the playoffs, that in only 6 races, that's pretty impressive. But I'm sure you're really hungry for that win, so after having that happen, what do you think you're really going to change or do differently to maybe get that win?
I don't know. I am usually somewhat aggressive, and I like racing everybody in our league, and I try not to be overly aggressive, and maybe that's what's holding me back. So I might just, go for it.
Work
if
on patience, huh?
maybe work on patience, maybe not. If there's a hole that's not really a hole, it might become a hole.
And I know going into the playoffs too, it definitely is. I know just from watching or being in the races myself, the intensity is really picked up.
Yeah, oh, it definitely
You can
has.
tell that, yeah, some guys are definitely making some moves that early on you'd say, whoa, that's not something you would see during the regular season. So, I'm sure you, along with a lot of other people, will, be testing your patience and, trying to make things work. So, but yeah, we'll get back to you in a moment here.
Yep.
So, let's talk to Libert. So, Libert, you actually came into the Xfinity series a little late. Not as late as some others, but you did miss a couple of the races there, and that kind of put you in a points deficit. But if I remember correctly, you came in on your first race at Mid-Ohio and won. So you really impressed a lot of people right from the get-go. And you've been strong at the road courses and, everywhere, but road courses particularly. And you locked yourself in the playoffs, and then you've been able to amass quite a few points, winning multiple stages, and I believe now you're, second or third in the Xfinity standings going into the second race of round 2. So tell us what it was like coming into this series, and maybe some of the pressures that you had trying to make it in the playoffs to begin with, and then how that's progressed into the playoffs. Absolutely. And you just seem to find yourself always competitive, whether you get the win or not. You've been racking up top fives every week for a while now. So it's been pretty impressive to see you just collect those points. And, I'm sure a win at a non-road course is eventual. So that's awesome. All right. No, good, good. Absolutely. Yeah, that you actually led me into my next question, is that I was going to ask, because you've participated in both Xfinity and trucks, and you made the playoffs in both, which was impressive. Um, Tell us, what the difference really is between the series for you, and do you have a favorite series? Do you have one that you feel you perform better in, or are they just kind of equal? Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely seem to be able to handle those pretty well. So, um, all right. Let's talk to another Xfinity driver that we have here today. So UpCountryBullet, you actually joined the latest of all of the playoff drivers. You started in that very bottom spot in the first round, and you were able to put together some decent finishes, even some season highs in the first round of the playoffs. And you were able to survive and make it to the second round, and you're still doing well there. So, same question to you. Tell us what it was like coming into the league a little late and then making it in the playoffs.
I mean, same as was at Libert there. I was a little bit nervous coming in, racing with new guys at first, but surprised myself the first couple of races. Had some good luck and a couple good finishes, and no, I was just learning a lot from you guys because racing these guys are pretty fast, and it's actually improved my racing and taking it into my league and other leagues, and it's actually helped quite a bit, which is nice. And yeah, no, just a lot of good luck for me, pretty much. That I didn't think I was going to make the playoffs, honestly, and then by surprised myself that I actually made it in. And yeah, just a little bit of good luck here and there, and make it to the second round, which is nice. But that last race there, load motor, that was not very good for start of the second round. So I'll have to dig my way out of a hole and see what we can do there.
Yeah, I mean you're not in a terrible position. You're only 8 spots back, and we got 2 more races. So you definitely have some time to make that ground up. But yeah, you've had some impressive finishes, and you even let's even talk about that last race of the regular season at the Roval. You needed quite a few points. I think it was over 20 points to
Yeah.
make it, but you were able to overcome it and got that spot by only a couple points. So when you were finished with that race, did you think you didn't make it, or?
Well, once we were talking with the points later on in the race, I realized I was in a comfortable position. But I really liked the road courses, so I felt like I had a good shot, regardless if I might have been able to get the win. But getting in on points was still pretty nice for me, and made me pretty happy to actually make it into the playoffs for a season.
Absolutely, yeah, that's definitely an accomplishment. And so something interesting about yourself is you are a dirt racer primarily. I know that you operate your own dirt racing league, and you do a lot of that. So my question for you is, how much different, have you had to, at least mentally, or just, how do you transition from that to the asphalt and make sure that you have the right mindset going in?
Well, I mean, you're racing on dirt, so you always have a loose setup, loose car on a small track. So I mean, especially going to the road courses and the smaller tracks, the tighter tracks, it helps a little bit because I can set my car up a little looser than others, and helps me rotate through the corners and makes the car a little bit faster, and hopefully be able to get a win out of that.
There you go. Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely some skills that translate like that, and it definitely helps. I'm sure you've had a couple of situations where the car gets too loose and you're able to save it just because you're used to that kind of thing on dirt. So
Yeah, exactly.
pretty cool.
I've come off a couple corners there, the back end of the car swaying out, and somehow save it. Surprised myself a lot, but I'm sure it's a little bit of the dirt
Well,
experience in the background. And growing up in Canada, there's a
absolutely.
lot of snow up here, so that probably helps a little bit too.
Oh yeah, you're used to sliding all the time, so that's awesome.
Turn right to go left.
And
Yeah,
that's right.
exactly.
All right. Well, we're gonna start talking about the playoffs. So I'm gonna flip back to you, and we'll go back up the list the other way. So looking at the Xfinity standings, UpCountry, you're 8 below, and Libert, you are sitting at a pretty plus 39. So UpCountry, what are your I guess what's your approach for the next 2 races? 'Cause you're not that far out. but there's a lot of guys that are going to be fighting to get those last couple of spots there. So, how do you approach the next two races? And I know we've got Watkins Glen coming up, and then that's going to be followed by.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for the Glen, honestly.
Yeah, is that one of your favorite road courses, or?
Yeah, between that and Mid Ohio, I mean, I run pretty consistent, both of them pretty fast. So obviously, you always want to win a race to advance, make it easier. But obviously, if I can have a couple good points races, good stages, and finishes to the races, then we should be good. Hopefully, point my way in.
There
If
you
not,
go.
win a race. I'd like to win at Watkins Glen, but you always gotta.
Yeah, that'd be special, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's for
And then
sure.
you've got Kansas to round out the round. So how do you feel about Kansas?
I like Kansas. I'm pretty good at running the high line there if I can get it rolling right. But I like the high line myself, anyways. I'm more of a Kyle Larson or old school Casey Kane racer and that type.
There you go. So you're definitely if you were to pick one of those two races that you really feel like you need to personally get a lot of points or a win, would you say it's Watkins Glen?
Yeah, I'd say for sure my best bet's gonna be Watkins Glen, but I feel we got a pretty good shot at Kansas too to get at least a top 5 finish and probably a couple good stage points, maybe a stage win if we can. But we'll definitely be looking forward for Watkins Glen, that's for sure.
All right, and I guess my last question for you is, so let's say you do a good job there and you move on and you move to the round of 6. That's going to be a very interesting tracks. You've got tracks like Gateway, Texas, and Indianapolis. Where do you feel your strong point and weak point is if you make it to that round?
Well, I know I'm fast in Cup cars at Indianapolis, so I might have to transition that to my Xfinity races, but that'd probably be my best bet, I imagine. But same as before, it's just being consistent and getting those stage points and overall finishes. Hopefully, get a win or two out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen a lot of that. The guys that can consistently grab stage points and finish the race higher up are usually the ones that advance. So, it's not always about just putting everything on the win, just trying to get those points and just be consistent, not ruin your day to try to get one spot.
And also, as the playoff field dwindles down, there's going to be more drivers going for wins to get the season over with. So you always got to watch out for other people that could be faster, and just got to be patient and take your time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's that's the I guess benefit and drawback is that if you win, you're in. That's a free ticket, but there's some consequences down the road too. That you personally, would you, given the last lap or the last 5 laps, would you move somebody or put somebody in the wall? Like, what is the extent you would go to get a win or to get a stage point that you need?
I've been on both ends of that situation. I mean, I haven't wrecked anybody for a win. I never would want to actually wreck somebody, but I definitely move somebody out of the way or rattle their cage, as they say.
Oh, that's what we like to hear. That's what creates the best racing, and I believe Winston Cup has some of that. So
yeah, I'm definitely appreciative of you guys letting me join board. It's definitely taught me a lot of skills that I've taken over to, like I said, other leagues, and it's improved my driving quite a bit because you guys are some of the faster guys I've ever raced with.
I appreciate that, and yeah, that's I definitely, when talking about our league to people that are thinking about joining, I always mention that this league will push you beyond what you think you're capable of, because we have a lot of fast people. So if you want to succeed, you practice and you learn, always trying to better yourself. So, we're always pushing each other to be faster and different, and plus the schedule's pretty rough. I mean, you you were able to make all the races, but you've seen how difficult it can get with just the different tracks that we go to, because we do go to all of them. So you're gonna have to be fast everywhere just to be able to make it through. So
Yeah,
definitely.
and hopefully a little bit better
accomplishment.
luck on the side too. No more blown motors. That'll make me a little bit happier.
Yeah, that always helps. All right, Libert. So let's talk to you. Same thing. So you're sitting in a pretty good spot right now, but as we've seen in other series, you could lose it all very quickly. So tell us what your mindset is going into these next two races. That's true. Yeah, I know you were part of that. Let's talk about that. So that was one of two of the most spectacular finishes that we've had so far this season. So I got a chance to talk to Uzi last week about that battle. So tell us, what was your take going into those last couple of laps, just battling with 5 cars? Absolutely. So one of the comments I remember Uzi made was that, um, it didn't seem as crazy as it did on the broadcast. So did you feel like the intensity, or did you, just feel like you were just racing normal? Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely awesome to watch, and I had the pleasure of watching that from the broadcast booth, and it was crazy. I was losing my mind about, how clean everyone was racing and how tight it was, and then it seemed like for a long time there that you guys really just couldn't get away from each other. We were just always, whoever fell back would find their way back up, and it was just this circle of passing and passing. So that was really awesome to see. So, absolutely. Oh, yeah. definitely. And so going into this next round, you are agreeing with Upcountry, and you're circling Watkins Glen as the one that, if for some chance you needed a must-win or needed a good points day, that would be the one. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the tricky thing about Watkins Glen is, yeah, it is easy to drive that track, much easier than, say, Mid-Ohio or Road America. But to win there is, I think, in my opinion, tougher, just because of how fast you're going and how there's a lot more room for error. So, yeah, let me ask you the same question. So, say you make the round of 6. You got Gateway, Texas, and Indianapolis. What do you think is your best track in that round, and what do you think is your worst track in that round? Yeah, absolutely. So, so when you go there, yeah, for sure. And so when you go there, you mentioned we just did the truck series a couple weeks ago. Um, is there anything you're gonna do differently after that race with the strategy? And how are you going to adjust to the higher speeds with the Xfinity cars there? Absolutely, yeah. You mentioned it. Gateway is definitely one of those track position tracks that, just your qualifying position can be a big factor in where you finish. So we'll definitely be watching out for you. Assuming you make the next round, we'll definitely be watching out for you there and to see if you can improve upon your Truck Series performance. All right. So let's talk to Mr. Jersey Devil. So we just finished round 2. We're going into round 3. Round 3 consists of Las Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville. How do you feel about that round?
Well, I feel very, very confident at Las Vegas and Talladega. Vegas because in the other league that I run, I finished second in truck race at Vegas. I ran out of fuel making a move for the lead on the last lap. And then I actually won the cup race there in that league. Talladega, I've always been very good at restrictor plate tracks, but then again, who isn't? So that's always, Talladega is the wild card of the round, really, because of the big runs that people get and the blocking and you miss a block and it's not timed right, be disaster for everybody. And
Yeah.
Martinsville, Martinsville's the worst track for me. I think it's the worst track on the game, but especially in a truck because the trucks are so tight, they're so slow. So,
Yeah.
you know, if
It's gonna be a challenge.
yes, it's going to be a challenge. If I had to get some practice, I would definitely practice Martinsville before the other two tracks. So,
Absolutely. So here's a question. So you mentioned you almost won a race at Las Vegas
mhm.
in another league. Do you feel that there's you kind of have a chip on your shoulder there that you kind of want to get some redemption at that track?
I mean, I kind of did because the following week we went there in a Cup Series and I won. So, that kind of, uh, I kind of did like a 180 from running out of
Mhm.
fuel on the last lap going for the lead to actually, being able to win a Cup race, never mind the truck race. So,
Yeah, yeah. So you feel very confident there. Well,
yes.
very nice. So you are currently, if we look at the standings, because of like we talked about your lack of playoff points with the stage wins, you're only sitting 7 points out on the start. So easily made up with 3 races. And only 8 points. Or Butter Burton is only 1 point above the Cross Me Daddy, who's on the top of the cut line there. So, everyone's kind of shuffled back up again. So, what do you think your chances are of making that Final Four?
Uh, I think they're decent. I don't think I got a good enough truck or a good enough team to compete with you. Um, Cheese seems to be really good. Cross seems to be really good. Um, Butter, I'm a little better than Butter, and me and Libert are right there. We're about the same if you ask me. He could be a little better at some of the other tracks. I could be a little better than him at some of the other tracks. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be very tight. And the way I look at it is you got to take it, race by race, and don't definitely got to get stage points. Stage points will help
absolutely.
a lot. So,
Yeah, and I
you know,
think you saw that in action because going into Canadian Tire, which was the cutoff race for round 2, you were only -2, and there were a couple drivers that were +2, +3,
hmm
+4, so everyone was only a couple points away from each other, and by getting stage points in both stages, and then finishing very high in the race, you were able to pass a couple people. You weren't
hmm
just the bottom person. You passed several people
yep.
and were pretty safe. So definitely going forward, that's definitely something to strive for. So you feel like, so I guess my question is, do you feel like you have a good chance, or you feel like you're gonna get knocked out and this is as far as you'll go?
Um, I I would like to say that I feel like I have a good chance. I kind of wish Martinsville was first in this round,
Hmm.
so you could just get the bad
Get over
race
with
out of the way. You know,
and know where you stand. Yeah.
exactly. Not have it come down to like I got to do this, this, and this, and we're going to my worst
Hmm.
track. So, you
So are you
know,
approaching the other two like you have to just, do as well as you possibly can and grab as many points so you can suffer in that one?
I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking. That was the strategy. We sat down, and talked about it, and I think that you know, Talladega's also a wild card race, but
Yeah.
I feel more confident at Talladega than I do Martinsville, and we're definitely
Yeah.
going to take these first two races and grab the bull by the horns.
So that being said, how aggressive will you be in Vegas and Talladega?
I mean, if it comes down for either a stage win or if I'm in eighth and I need to get to seventh, That chrome horn might come into play.
There we go. So
not
we got
saying
two
anything.
drivers here that have already come out and said, well, down to it, I will move you. So
Yep.
that's going to be exciting to watch.
You know, I haven't won a race yet. A bunch of these other guys have a win. Libert's got, an Xfinity win, and I don't a couple. You got a bunch of wins. UpCountry's right up there. I haven't won anything yet. So
you won some stages.
And
let's talk about the fact that you've won 2 stages in the playoffs, and so you doubled your regular season total in only a couple of races. So, is most notably, I would say one of your best races the last couple weeks. You can tell me if you agree with me or not. How about that Michigan race? You were up in the top 3 the entire race. You were leading at one point, and it seemed like you really had a shot to try to take the lead for the win, and it just came to pit strategy at the end.
That's exactly what it was. I figured that I could, pit a few laps before and work my way, back past you were actually the leader. It was a good battle between you and me, but I figured I could pit first and cycle through if you had stayed out longer, which you did, but you were able to take less fuel than I had to, and ultimately I think I was like 3.5 seconds behind you. But a lot of people always say, one more lap. Well, one more lap, you would have blew a tire. So
yeah, absolutely. I believe if I remember correctly, I had 2 or 1% coming across that line. So one more lap would have been pretty devastating.
So Michigan, and that's why I feel like confident for Talladega, because Michigan kind of acts like that with the trucks at least.
Yeah, for sure.
I
would agree. Yeah.
So
a lot of drafting, a lot of just draft play and strategy is really what it comes down to.
Yep.
Or at least from what I've seen, and you're not really lifting much there at all. So yeah, you definitely. And I gotta say though, you had like I was saying earlier, you definitely had a stellar regular season. You didn't get the wins and stage wins that you wanted, but you have definitely progressed and shown a lot of improvement in the playoffs. I mean, you had a couple decent finishes up in the top 3 or 4 a couple times in the regular season, but to string 3 second place finishes in 6 races, you're definitely heating up. So I don't know about you, but I'd say it'd be fair to say you've definitely got a good shot at this. If you keep up that kind of consistency, who knows? Somebody, and especially you said with the wild card race at Talladega, anything can happen.
Yep.
So that's what makes it interesting.
I just got to keep. The way I look at it is the one guy in front of me in points and the one guy behind me in points. That's really the only that's in my eyes. It's really the only 2 people you need to look at. For the time being, focus on those 2, because what is that guy under you going to do to leapfrog you, and what is that guy above you going to do to move up higher than what he is? So try to keep them from getting stage points or stage win.
Yeah, exactly. So you and are aware of during races who you're racing. It's not always, and I think a lot of people lose sight of this sometimes too, especially in the playoffs. It's not always about winning the race or beating the person who's leading in points right now. It's running your race, beating who you need to beat. Because it's not always about, because some people take ridiculous risks that they don't need to take, especially say somebody in the lead isn't even a playoff driver.
Yeah.
Do you really, or not, let's say not in the lead, because winning a race would be huge, but say you're in 4th place and the guy in front of you is in 3rd place, and you know that if you push your car to try to catch him, you might spin out and wreck yourself. Well, that guy isn't beating you in points right now. He's not even in your series. So, sometimes you have to recognize, what's going on the racetrack.
Absolutely.
So,
you definitely
that's really
have
important.
you definitely have to be aware of your surroundings and who's for position, and what, like you said, what series they're in, and if you're not racing that guy, if he's an Xfinity guy, I'm not gonna go up there and push the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's for a stage win and it's
Then
close
that's a
enough to,
different story.
that's a
Yeah.
different story. But if it's coming down, if it's on lap like 5 or 8 or something like that, there's no need to push it, right
No,
then and
not at
there.
all. Not at all. Yeah, I agree. You gotta be smart about it. You can't just try to, like I think Libert said, trying to win the race on lap 3. It's not gonna work. Um, so before we switch gears here real quick, I want to ask Libert, because I know you do both series. So Libert, you're below the cut line, minus 15. So not really quite the situation you are in the Xfinity series. So going in with a little bit of a deficit, what's your approach to the rest of the truck season? Yeah, for sure. So, same question to you. What do you think your chances are? Because you've got three very different tracks coming up: Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville. What are your chances, and what track or tracks are you banking to get a lot of points or a win on? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's really gonna, at least Talladega is definitely gonna throw a lot of things up in the air. But as long as you can stay out of trouble there and survive, and then like you said, perform well at Vegas, and then Martinsville, I think is gonna challenge a lot of people, except for the very few short track racers out there. So um, it should be interesting. So now I always, at the end of the segment, I try to throw a little interesting thing in. So last week we talked about funny moments during the season, things that made us laugh, or some characters that we've had in the league. This week, not as comical, but I'd like to talk about just how you guys got into NASCAR, and not just NASCAR Heat, but NASCAR in general. Um, so let's start with Upcountry. What was your first experience with NASCAR, and how did you become a fan? And then, maybe a little bit about how you got into NASCAR Heat as well.
It's hard being a NASCAR fan up here, I'll tell you that. Not a lot of people watch it around here 'cause that's more hockey and football, but I started watching it when I was about 10 years old, and just pretty much never stopped watching it and bought every NASCAR game ever since, and just I guess in my blood now. Been watching it and living it for, is it 17 years now?
Wow. So yeah, you definitely started right from the beginning. That's awesome.
Yeah, I started
You know.
watching the 2005 season, Casey Kane's rookie season, I think it was, and I stuck with him as my driver all the way through his whole season.
And so were you a Casey Kane fan all the way till he retired, and then also, do you have a favorite driver now?
Oh yeah, I followed him all the way through. I always stuck with him no matter what. But after he retired, I took on with Team Penske, Ron Blaney, Joey Logano. They're usually my favorites. I'm a big Ford guy, so
Very
got a
nice.
Mustang sitting in my driveway, so I got to represent when I'm racing.
Very nice. Yeah, definitely a switch of Hendrick to Penske, but yeah, that's awesome. So hopefully we can get this NASCAR season started, and
Yeah,
looks like Ryan Blaney
it's
started
been
off pretty
crazy in
well,
all
and
the
so did
different
Logano.
games, racing all different manufacturers. I'll tell you that, because he raced all 4 different manufacturers. Casey Kane did.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta, and they definitely, handle differently, at least for a lot of drivers' opinions. So sometimes you gotta remember, what manufacturer you're in, and that'll help you tune the car. So, all right. How about you, Libert? What was your first experience? Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Very nice. And do you well, who is your first favorite driver, and who do you follow now? Mhm. Yeah. No, he definitely. I mean, you can't argue with 4 championships and the amount of races. I believe he won. What was it? 192. Or something, or was it 98? Yeah, he definitely won a ton of races, ton of championships. So, Jeff Gore, and I mean, I think, if nothing else, the testament that to his driving was in his farewell season, the amount of people that were celebrating for him and his career. That was awesome to see. So, he. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, as of Gordon retiring, who do you follow now? Yeah, absolutely. And also just his range of skills as well, because he's been able to win at road courses and non-road courses too. So he's almost, you can't say yet, what kind of driver he's going to be at the end of his career, but who knows? We could be seeing the next Jeff Gordon. So definitely impressive what he's done so far. All right, Mr. Jersey Devil, your turn. What is your first NASCAR experience?
Well, just to echo what Upcountry said, I started watching NASCAR when I was about 10. It's hard where I am, being in New Jersey. Nobody really likes it here. um, you know, my first race I went to was the 2001 Pocono 500 in June. I believe Ricky Rudd won that race, or it was Dale Jarrett. I don't remember. So yeah, going back that far. And I started watching it because of my father. My father liked cars, so that piqued my interest, and I started watching racing. And then I said to myself I was gonna either be a driver or be a pit crew member one day, and well, I got half of it. I've been fortunate enough to help and volunteer on some ARCA teams, some truck teams, a couple different Xfinity teams. So, and more like a hobby for me now that I'm 29. And it's definitely a lot of fun doing it, jumping over the wall and pitting a race car. Not many NASCAR fans can say that they've jumped over the wall at Daytona to practice to perform a pit stop. So
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
been fortunate, and I've been fortunate enough to do that, and I'm very lucky for the people that I've met and helped me, along the way to get to where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a one of a kind experience that I'm sure you'll remember. And anyway, it's very interesting seeing the different ways that we all become connected through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
Absolutely.
whether we live in Canada or New Jersey, whether we have experienced it at a young age or just started last year. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool. And from talking to a lot of the members in the league, it's really interesting to see, how we all got to be racing together. It's really cool. So I think I might know the answer to this, but who was your first favorite driver or favorite drivers coming up through, and then who do you follow now?
My favorite driver growing up was Jeff Gordon. My dad liked him. I liked him. Um, you know, uh, I mean, it was hard to see him retire at the end of 2015 because 2014 he had that championship won in 2014, and then Brad Keselowski had to go and cut his tire down at Texas, and just on from there. He won 4 or 5 races that year, and then it was really a dismal, dismal 2015 season. Not winning any races until October at Martinsville, and you could really
Yeah.
thank Joey Logano for that one, or Matt Kenseth for that one, for taking out Logano. But man, when he won that race, locked himself into Homestead, I had a good feeling that it was probably going to be his last win because of the way his car, was the way the equipment was that year for him. So I teared up a little bit, watching that Martinsville race and seeing him celebrate and that kind of emotion out of him, which you never really saw out of him except for when he actually won his first career race at Charlotte back in
Yeah.
'93.
He
So
was always collected. He was
yes.
always, he knew he was fast. He knew he could win races, very calm. But I think he did, and we all did too, that when he won that race, we knew that would be it.
Hmm.
And what a great race that was. And what a cool track to win at.
Oh yes.
He's got quite a few grandfather clocks, so that was really cool to see.
Yep. I've been fortunate enough to see him win 3 times at Pocono, 2 in the rain, but a win is a win. So
Hey. Good thing we don't have rainouts in online racing.
Yeah.
That is definitely one advantage.
So,
So, who do you follow now?
well, I haven't given, since he retired, I haven't really given any other driver 100% like I gave Jeff.
Hmm.
You know, I feel very differently about Chase than Libert does. From participating in ARCA races and actually getting to meet the guy,
Yeah.
just always seemed arrogant. He always seemed too hard on himself. Granted, he has
Yeah.
gotten better,
Hmm.
and that was one thing from the beginning of his career. Up and coming driver Chase Elliott that I didn't really like. And I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't use his last name to get where he is. He earned it.
That's
He
true.
definitely earned it. Um, but one guy that I definitely probably root for on the weekends, but like I said, not at 100%, is got to be Truex. And
Hmm.
it's not jumping on the bandwagon. It's he's a Jersey guy like I am, so
Yeah, that's true.
there's that thing there. And once Martin jumped from Chevy to Toyota, it was even harder to really give
Yeah,
him
yeah.
100%. So,
I know you're a Chevy guy as well,
yep,
so
yep,
seeing that was kind of how I felt when Tony Stewart drove a Toyota. It was like, oh, not okay.
yeah. I
So
mean, he only did it for 1 year, so
that's true. Yeah, but thank goodness.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. That's awesome. So, thank you guys. I want to thank you guys again for being here. It was a blast. And I would like to wish you all success in the following season, or in the following races of this season and next season. I hope you guys stick around for next season, and whatever the results may be. And it was definitely awesome having you guys in the league and getting a chance to know you guys a little bit more on the broadcast, and maybe we'll have you guys back on soon. So
That'd be cool.
good luck.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
that
Thanks
was
for having
cool.
us.
No problem.